The man who followed his dreams, Chris Walford.
Tick, 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 tick. The hands of the clock moved slowly round. Every second seemed longer than the last. The clock just seemed to stretch on and on before him. His eyelids grew heavy, his conscience grew blurry, his heart grew dull. He had to make it until 5:30. Right now it was only 3:30. 2 hours! He was so bored. He began to make a deal with himself. If I can make it till 4:30, then I can have a coffee, that's halfway. It's all downhill from there, right? Jason hated his job. He hated it! It was so boring. Day after day, sat in front of a sea of spreadsheets, going on and on. A grey, joyless computer connected to a grey, joyless keyboard, connected to a grey, joyless man. He was trapped in a soulless cubicle. Its only concession to humanisation were the printed out pictures of his daughters, his wife and his friends stuck to the push-pin walls. His mind ran like a cinema. He was watching life coaches bound onto the stage and saying things like, "Life is too short to do a job you hate. Go out there and follow your dreams." He was becoming obsessed with the film American Beauty, in which the actor Kevin Spacey recaptures the joy of his youth. The opening dialogue of the film played over and over again in his head. "My wife and daughter think I'm this gigantic loser. And they're right, I have lost something. But it's never too old to get it back." He was inspired. He wasn't going to sit in this air-conditioned prison anymore. He was going to go out there and explore the world, to follow his dreams, to do something useful. "I'm going to do it!" he screams, punching the air and standing tall. The open plan office falls silent as his 50 colleagues stare at what the hell is going on. But Jason doesn't care. He is a man on a mission. He storms into his boss's office, slams the door behind him, sits down and declares, "I quit." His boss takes a moment, looks up and says, "Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Jason. Is there anything wrong? Is there anything we can do to make you stay?" Jason is really annoyed by this. It's so hard to stay angry when the other person is being polite. In the end, he just meekly responds, "No, I just need to follow my dreams." His 4 weeks notice period passed tediously slowly. He can't wait to get out there. He's done sat in front of a computer. He wants to feel the wind on his face, the rain on his back, the sun beating down. He wants to make a difference, really contribute to society, do something other than looking at figures and shifting numbers around and all these things that in modern day don't really seem to do anything. He decides to become a fisherman. Sure, it means being away from your family for months at a time, and yes, it is a rather large pay cut. But he doesn't mind. He would rather be happy than wealthy. He signs up as a crewman on a deep-sea trawler, and pretty soon they're setting out from port. Every day he's catching the fish, feeding the people, exploring new places. Of course, when you're at sea, new places look pretty much like the old places, but they are technically new, and that makes the work hard but rewarding. He's loving it, even though it can get a bit dull doing the same thing day in, day out. But he's outside. I mean, it's kind of good. He thinks he's enjoying it. One night, huge storm clouds roll in, blocking out the sun and turning everything dark. The wind begins to pick up, and the little fishing boat begins to rock more and more from side to side. Pretty soon there is a freezing rain lashing down as the crew desperately run around the deck trying to tie everything down before it's blown away. The wind is howling so much that they have to shout at each other just to be heard across the noise of it. The wind gets stronger and stronger, the rain falls more and more, and the fishing boat continues to take from side to side more and more. Jason struggles to keep his feet. All of a sudden, a huge wave slams into the side of the boat, knocking it half sideways. Jason loses his footing on the wet, slippy deck and begins to tumble towards the ocean. He looks at the raging torrents below him that he's heading towards, and then BAM! His safety line catches tight and holds him on the boat. For a second, he stares down at the freezing cold water below him and realises that his line has just saved him from certain death. That night, the storm passes and the sea becomes eerily quiet. Jason lies on his bunk and looks at the pictures of his daughters, his wife and his family that he now hasn't seen for 6 weeks, and realises the whole thing has been a massive mistake. They say that life is too short to do a job you hate, but it isn't. Because your job isn't your life. Jason realised that he didn't have to go out there and follow his dreams, because his dreams were already at home with him, encapsulated in the photos of his daughters, his wife and his friends that he carried around with him. If you do a job that you love, then that's brilliant. I'm so happy for you. And if you do a job that you hate, and that job is your whole life, then I'm not going to lie to you, that's a bit sad. But if you're like most of us, what you do is a job that you mildly dislike. And if that's what we have to do to have the money and the time to spend with the people we love, the people really important in our lives, then there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Madam Toastmaster.